So how can we tailor our communication style to those profiles, to those behaviors that we have in our team? Let's begin with the dominant, shall we? So first of all, dominant, what kind of communication is going to prefer? Straight to the point. Give it to me straight, direct, extremely direct, and focus squarely on results. Get it done. How do we identify them? More energy, speaking fast in a firm tone, even with a handshake is a firm one. So we're going to see them, how they reflect that level of energy. But we're talking about short interactions, just to the point, and making sure they are clear from the very beginning. Not messing around, not beating about around the bush, making sure that communication stays bottom line impact. That's what they are looking for. With influence, though, we're going to notice also that there's a very light interaction, full of energy. They really enjoy that hyper interaction. They laugh a lot. They're the noisy ones in the room. Daniela was talking about that earlier. So that means that we're going to notice that we're going to hear them first, and we're going to notice where they kind of disperse. Very a bit, very lovely, very bubbly. But when it comes to follow up, they're going to struggle a little bit with those processes. So when we speak to them, if we are a more reserved profile and we prefer a more conservative communication style, that means we have to stay in tune with them. We have to take our reps apps in a way to make sure that we enter in that hyper, not hyper, but higher level of energy so they don't disconnect. If we speak too low, in a lower tone, and we are too slow, you know what is going to happen to them. They're going to hate the interaction, they're going to disconnect, and they will lose them. That applies to trainings, that applies to meetings. They have to have an agenda that goes faster, and that is going to be beneficial for us. So a bit tone, more energy, prepare to keep interaction a bit light, not to keep it too intense or too serious, because then we're going to lose them straight away. For the steady style, what we have to do with them is to keep a calm tone of voice, more composed. We want to be friendly. We want to even to sit a bit closer, maybe. Instead, the culture is appropriate to touch. For example, the Spanish culture is quite common actually to be a bit not too touchy-feely, but to have this close behavior. So vital space, we can afford to be a little bit closer to them. They would feel okay as long as they feel warmth. Whatever is appropriate for culture, but we want to make sure that they feel that warmth, they feel that patience, that dialogue, and I would probably express that better saying personal interest. That's the number one currency when we want to inspire people from the steady behavior. They need to understand things gradually, so we have to slow down and we have to deliver the information in a way that is first the relationship. They have to like it first, to like us as individuals, and then they give us permission to sell the idea, to explain what we have to explain, to convince them. But they have to believe that we honestly care about the well-being. If they don't feel that personal interest, again, there's not going to be trust or enough trust for them to follow through and to believe in our leadership. Then we have the conscientious behavior. What happens with the conscientious behavior? Well, we need clear, detailed information. That's what we need with them. How are we going to do that? We need to prepare for logical presentations that respect the structure they're expecting. We have to make sure that we provide enough documents, enough evidence, enough proof of concept, data, statistics to back what we are saying. And they will review those details. They are the ones who read all the comments, all the reviews to make sure that it happens. So we need to respect their need for details and accuracy, the needs for support and thoroughness. That's something we want to make sure that we give them in our communication. So we change the structure, we change the pace, we change the intensity, we tailor it to their unique needs. And again, as we were saying earlier in the beginning of our training today, we're talking about behavioral styles. So there's no better or worse behavior. Normally we are a combination, a complex combination of these four main styles, and that gives you hundreds of combinations. The possibilities are endless. We find people that have a very unique composition with behaviors, main behaviors and adaptive behaviors that are complementary, sometimes opposite. When we are under stress, normally we behave in the opposite behavior in this square that we call the disc. So it needs for us to consider them, to understand that unique composition, so no dominant person is going to be equal to another dominant person. They do share some traits, but they may differ tremendously because of that combination with the other behaviors. Aspects, for example, like emotional intelligence, personal maturity, their experience at work, that is going to affect how they behave despite those commonalities between those behaviors.